Hey, welcome back to another Montreal Canadian Notebook podcast with hockey coach Francis directly for the beautiful country of Thailand on amazing great Wednesday night, January 29, 2025. Hopefully, an amazing great week so far, middle of the week, so ready to finish strong also the end of the week before we knock the door for what? February 2025. The time fly like amazingly. Um, like we never see before. And hopefully you're ready to talk about what? Les Bleus Blancs Rouges. Montreal Canadiens lost yesterday against the Winnipeg Jets. I'm going to get a bit information about what happening. Couple of news around Montreal Canadiens. Of course, the injury of Kaiden Guhle. Another big impact for the Montreal Canadiens and the future for the next couple of weeks. And other things we want to talk about. And the subject of the night, guys, it's about what, coach? But tonight the subject is about the savior. It's coming. The Messi is coming. Ivan Demidov. What about Demidov? I bet what he could do for the Montreal Canadiens next season and the future. And the future. And NHL at this moment, we're going to have a couple of news. 5 game in action. The Devils just scored another goal. Devils lead now 4-0. There's Dawson Mercer scored a goal. The Panthers lead 1-0 against the Kings. And the Wild take the lead 2-0 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's what we got so far. A little bit later, Vancouver Canucks visit the Predator, the Nashville Predator. Pittsburgh Penguins difficult on the road to play against the Utah and Andre Tourigny, head coach for tonight on the Notebook. What we do, and of course, he's the co-host since the beginning of the season, is joined me directly from Hawkesbury, ready to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. So we welcome back Mr. Marko Larabi is in the house tonight.
Yes, sir. How's it going, Hockey Nation? How's it going, Coach? Super excited to be back on a Wednesday for another notebook. This week, we're flying solo. So looking forward to battling with you directly today. Usually, you're in the chat, and I'm battling with my co-host. But tonight, me and you, sir, we're going to be chit-chatting. Probably give us a little bit more time to answer some questions in the chat too, which is great. So in the chat, feel free to kind of pop in some questions for us as well. But looks like you have some great subjects for us tonight, Coach. I know probably the mood is a little today, so we'll go through it. We'll talk through it as a family, as a Habs family. We'll talk through it. We'll get through it, and should be fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Listen, after we want to recap the game for Montreal Canadiens versus Winnipeg Jets, and I think it's a good show. It's the middle of the week where you really usually Montreal does not play the Wednesday, so you can review a bit what happenings on the week, right? You can preview a bit what's coming from Montreal again. So I think the Wednesday night is really a good show talking about the Montreal Canadiens, and
Yep.
that's what we're going to do tonight, guys. Talking about the Habs. So that's the right place to be. And don't forget, please to subscribe. Click on the likes. We are on the race to reach 9,000 subscribers. So let's see what's happening tonight. First of all, going to welcome everybody very quickly, if you don't mind, Marco. RJ Calabo is in the house tonight. Welcome back, RJ. Hopefully you're doing well. Abination, knock the door. Hopefully, Abination, you're doing well. And glad to see you around with the Hockey Nation Live Show on this episode tonight. Abnation tell me to take Jake Allen, Mr. Marco. So I'll just take it.
Yeah,
He told me
sure.
take.
Why not?
I listen Abnation. So I take Jake Allen.
It's very generous. Very
Alan
generous.
Payancourt is in the house tonight from Iran. Hopefully doing well. Kentucky, what's going on in Kentucky, Alan? Are you ready for your bowling? We look for knock the door. Standerman is in the house. Tahar, welcome back. Thank Pete Martin to be with us tonight. A2 knocked over. It's over from E2. I know fully embrace the tank for a top 10 pick. Let's go. If we have the time, Marco, go talk about NHL Draft 2025. The selection, only the selection where I'm thinking Montreal could get between 11 to 18. So it's only my own opinion. It's nothing about people telling me to do it, whatever it is. I think this is what I'm looking for. I remove completely the left defenseman, honestly. So we're going to look about this a little bit later if we have time. If not, we can do it next time. Gary Conway is in the house. Welcome back, Gary. Really an amazing, great behind the wheel of the UPS driver, the best of the best. We have Jayden Miller for PLW tonight. He put the money on the Jayden Miller at the Saga Vancouver Canucks. And no stop with Elias Peterson. Venez sing. And our tap knock the door as a moderator tonight. And our tap, always a pleasure to see you around with Mr. Pizza. Welcome back. Thanks to be a part of the show. Richard Johnson knocked the door tonight. Thanks, Richard, for the comments on the video today or the question. I answered to him a couple of minutes ago. Glad to see you around. Thanks for the like. The buddy house is in the house. Michel Larac is in the house. A long time. Yeah, what's going on with you? Bunny, I'm going to talk about Kaiden Guhle next couple of minutes, so don't go nowhere. And we'll see happening about this one over there. N26 knocked the door. Welcome back, Mr. N26. Hopefully you're doing well. Edward, welcome back. For a long time, Edward. Hopefully you're doing great over there. Randy knocked the door tonight. Hopefully, Randy, you're doing well. Canucks is a flame out. Randy,
Just a note on Randy. So if you watch podcasts like other podcasts on YouTube, I swear to God, Randy he's in the chat in every freaking podcast all across the NHL. Everyone. You see, if you watch replays of like whatever podcast you can think of in every market, and then you see, a little question here from Randy Workman. He's like in every chat. Randy, good for you, man. Like I see you a lot in those chats. I'm in a lot of those other podcasts too. But I swear to God, man, like it's his full-time job to be in chats and different podcasts all across the NHL. Amazing.
You love to be everywhere. Zeph, welcome back. I've heard about that one. We'll see about this. I'm basically he's carrying the same thing. I think so too. I was in Montreal Canadiens draft highlight today. I feel great. It was a positive experience. I needed that Gary Conway. I have to spend money about this. Someone asked about something else earlier. Want to see that? RDP knocked the door with the Buffalo Sabres. Welcome back. And Twists trade the pick number 1 and number 2 round. Interesting to see that. And so we got that again, Mr. Nartap, and Mr. Nartap is in the house, of course. Marko, going to start with the headlines. Well, like we do the Wednesday night, we talk about the headline, and we have 2 headlines, one from you, one from me. I'm going to start with yours, if you don't mind. And yours is about the why. We know the important of business, the why.
Why, Coach? Why? So, I think I'm not going to be the only one here to question what's going on with the fourth line here. Like, only in Montreal, by the way, do we obsess so much over, fourth line players. But I think it's important, so obviously we all know that, one of the keys to the success Montreal had in December and the early part of January was the fact that Martin St-Louis could run all 4 lines. You could argue probably for a stretch of about 10 games. The best line Montreal had was the Evans line with Armia and with Heineman, right? So to me, it was such an important piece of why Montreal is able to be that competitive, because they roll 4 lines. With a really, really busy schedule, you're not overplaying guys and everything else, right? So I get it that, Heineman is not really replaceable. I'm not saying there is another Heineman in the organization, but even with Beck or even RHP, for whatever reason, they decided not to dress him again. I understand, they called him up. He had just played a game, so they didn't dress him the first time that they called him up. But why did you call him up if you're not going to play him? Like, if you're just going to play Pizzetta 5-6 minutes, just, dear God, like let the poor man go. If he goes to Laval, great. He'll be a great asset there. And if not, he'll have a new start somewhere else, right? But I just think that it's such an important element for Martin St-Louis. A bunch of reporters are kind of alluding to that in the press conference today too, like trying to hint at it. That they could see St. Louis was a little upset today, so they didn't push his buttons too much after he heard about Guhle. But you could see they were hinting towards it, like it was such a big part of the game, being able to run 4 lines. Do you think you'll be able to do that again? And he's like, yeah, it would be nice to do it again. So obviously, it's clear to me that he doesn't believe in either Beck or Harvey Pinard or Pizzetta. To me, I don't see what the big deal is with having RHP have a shot here. Obviously he's not going to. We're not expecting him to come in and score 14 goals in 40 games like he did last time when he was playing with Suzuki. But for me, he's a very dependable guy. Evans' line he wants to match that line against the top lines of the other teams. To me, RHP has absolutely proven that he's responsible on both sides of the puck. He's not the best finisher or anything like that, but he plays hard. He's a puck hound. He's very responsible. I don't see him harming Montreal in any way. And then that allows you to roll your lines like they were doing when they were really successful. It's not bad for a couple games, coach. Like if you have, like I get it that the other forwards like Suzuki or Caulfield or Gallagher or Doc sometimes it's fun for them to come in and play an extra shift with Evans and Armia once in a while. Like I don't mind doing that for a couple games, but Heineman's still going to be away for a while. He's already been gone for 2 weeks. I just don't understand why. Why are they just not choosing someone, giving them a real opportunity to play on that fourth line with Evans and Armia so that they can go back to the formula that works? We know it works, this formula, coach. I just don't understand why he's so hard-headed. You know, like right now, it's clear Anderson is playing injured as well, right? So I just don't understand. Like, do you have any, like, is it just he really doesn't trust those guys? Like, what do you think, coach?
For me, it's like, first of all, he was called up at HP for the injury of 50-50 game, last game again. The Anderson Gallagher was not sure to be a part of
Yeah.
the game, so he was on the warm-up during the practice, right? Before the game start. And they take a decision and they remove him. But right
Yeah.
now, um, I don't see the utility of Michael Pesada on the ice. He does not help in the Montreal game right now. And the next
No.
and the show a little bit later, I'm going to show to you the reason between two different teams, the Winnipeg Jet and the Montreal Canadiens, the personnel of the player they have. And for me, yeah, you nail it. I think we better to give maybe an opportunity for young players, whatever is. Now we talk about AHP, but whatever another player, like he could be Owen Beck or he could be
Davidson.
Davidson or anybody, right? And I feel like for me, this is a completely a mistake by the management. This is not the first time happening with Montreal. Remember, I know you're going to tell me you remember. Remember, like last year, they would not bring a four center on the ice, like a four center on the on the roster, or they're not going to have an extra defenseman on the road for a couple of games.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
those, so
yeah.
this is the one area I think we talk about the improvement of the players, the improvement of the coach, but the improvement of the management to see a little bit more prevention is the
Hmm.
best.
I don't know if it's management though, like because they did call up RHP, right? So management did their job. They called him up. I think it's more of a, to me, this is a coaching
The
decision,
coaching
coach, that he
decision about to not
did.
answer him, but
Yeah,
this is going to
yeah.
be a little bit like for me, it's like they have to do it. I think it would be helping more the we know what is our HP, right? It's not going to be a top line, everything like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
something happens during the game, you can use him on the details of the game if an injury happening, so he can batch up better at Pesada where he on the state unit on one dying. So we'll see what's happening for him, but it's something Montreal have to figure out differently and the next couple of days for our HP or anybody. Mine is a little bit not fun. I said I knew yours, so I said I would punching some positive for helping Gary Conway to have a better night. And he said he watched the NHL draft. So I said, why not to looking about this guy? I'm talking about Yohai Slafkovsky. The progress take time. There's a quote in sport, and that's the situation with him. He's still 20 years old. He's still learning. He's still going to learning for the next couple of years. But again, is it a second half of the season? I'm happy because the playoff are after the second half, so he's going to be fine for the playoff. But you can see again, he's getting. For me, two things for Joras Sakowski is when he's moved his feet, he's engaged in the game, he's going to be fine. Second thing that's fun right now, he score more goal is because he's on the right position. When I say the right position, he's on the high danger scoring chance when finding net, and you use his shot. That's just another thing you need to do more often is to be comfortable to say, you know what? Remember like Cole Caulfield last year, 300 shot, he was shooting the puck everywhere, the puck go in. This is what Sakowski need to become, improve that quality of his shot with accuracy, but I think that would be better for him to try to shoot the puck more often over there. So for me, engage and play physical, puck retrieval. And look, he have a couple of passes the last couple of games. I think the goal of Ziski on the one-timer shot, I think is Slafkovsky start on the board, stop the puck right there, and give to Caulfield to Ziski. So this is what I'm looking for. So Slafkovsky, I still believe is going to have a great second half of the season, but that's what we're looking. Forget the first overall pick, the label beside his name, Marko. But I think Slafkovsky right now is going to finish strong again the second half of the season and be ready next season. He's just getting better, but the time to let him to find a way to become who he's going to be in NHL. For me, this is what I'm looking for Slafkovsky for the rest of the season. So I don't know what you feel about Slafkovsky last couple of games and then maybe until the end of the year.
I think you nailed it, Coach. Like, to me, I honestly think Slafkovsky might have played one of his better games of the year last night against Winnipeg. There's probably some other games where he was more involved physically than last night, but I found that his puck carries were the most confident I've seen him all year. Like, actually kind of like holding on to the puck, making nice plays, actually, moving around guys. And then you're right, like, well, technically, Coach, I think that might be his second goal this year where he shot a puck past a goalie. The first one was against Hellebuck, which was kind of a lucky shot. Or not Hellebuck, it was against Vasilevsky in Tampa, right? The one where he kind of shot it through him. But this is the first one where he like cleanly beat a goalie with a good shot. Brilliant pass by Suzuki from behind the net last night. So really, really good game from him. I hope you're right, Coach. Like, I would much if Slafkovsky turns out to be a slow starter but has strong second halves and is good in playoffs, I'll take that instead of a Mr. October, right? Like, it's much better that way. So I agree with you. Like, I think we've talked about this before. I think we compared it to Lane Hudson. The reason that Montreal decided to commit to him long term is not just because he had a strong half last year, like that was a big part of it, but what they saw is his work ethic. What they saw is how coachable he was. What they saw is how dedicated he is and how good his character is at self-evaluating himself. And sometimes he's maybe a little too hard on himself. So for me, if I'm looking to, it's kind of like a cheese, Coach, right? Like, if you're going to commit to a girl long term, you want to see certain signals from that person that they're going to be committed to and that they're not going to be crazy or something, so there's a reason why Montreal decided to commit themselves long term to Slafkovsky, not just because of the type of player he is and what his performance is, but they like what's under the hood on this guy. So similar to Hudson, the reason that Hudson is so successful is that he works hard. He's committed to learning. So these are the things that we should all feel really good about Slafkovsky, is that he's a good kid, wants to do well. He's custom built to take the pressure in Montreal. That was a huge reason why they probably opted for him versus someone like Guhle or Shane Wright, is because they know the pressure cooker that it is in Montreal, and they had a very strong feeling that someone like Slafkovsky was going to be able to take the heat, right? So I'm with you 100%. Great game from him last night. Let's keep it going and see how he does.
Sorry about that. I agree with you. About this, we have a few people knock the door for everywhere. So we have Ellen is in the house. We have Steven
Hey,
knock the
Ellen.
door. We have Dan knock the door. And 26 earlier, I said to you. Luc Fortin knocked the door. So everybody, thanks again to be a part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the likes. And of course, if you have any question, because we have only me and Marko tonight, we're going to answer to your question right away. And at least if we're not in the middle of a big subject, but otherwise, we're going to answer to you. This is the time tonight to do it. Usually, I do this a Friday night, but Friday, I'm going to do the game La Balle Rocket, Marko. Play again the Hartford Wolfpack. So we did the headline, and I did not start reverse, but I want to talk a little bit more before we talk about Montreal Canadiens, because people want to talk about what's going on. I want to talk about NHL. The NHL situation, guys, is Dottie back in the house with the Los Angeles Kings tonight. First game of the season after he got a very bad injury against the Vegas Golden Knight, if I can recall it properly, the right team. That will give a good boost for the Los Angeles Kings. Surprisingly, the L3 scratch clock. So I asked a run after
Yeah.
that, but I don't get it
Yeah.
about that situation. How you feel about Dalit, his impact, and do you think he should play on the Four Nation Team Canada?
Well, yeah. So great point. Like, great news for Los Angeles. They've really been quite a story. Kind of. You don't know how they were going to rebound last year. Big trade with Dubois. It's one of those kind of win-win situations. Washington's had a great has really thrived with Pierre-Luc Dubois there, and then Kemper comes in, has a great year for them. So one of those trades that works out well for both teams. So LA's done great. Without Doughty. It's really, really early in the season when they lost him. So this is a still an elite player, elite defense in the NHL coach. He's going to play close to 25 minutes a game. They'll slowly ramp him up, but nothing but good news there for Los Angeles. If you're Sweeney, Dubas, and Armstrong and all those guys at Team Canada management, this is a really good news. You're going to be watching all the LA Kings games over the next couple weeks. And to me, he's a very, very strong option to replace Peter Angelo, obviously, who has pulled out of the Four Nations for Canada, right? So couldn't be better timing for both LA and Team Canada. They need that right-hand shot to replace Peter Angelo. You have other candidates like Uyghur and everything else. But so, yeah, great news for Doughty. Really curious about Clark. Really strong. I had him in the hockey pool coach for the first month of the season, I think, and he was killing it. I had to drop him, and I felt terrible, like I was trying to trade back for him. But definitely things have cooled down for him. To make this all about Montreal Canadiens, right? Which we are. It just, to me, seeing a player like
Yeah,
us how fucking amazing Hudson is doing this year, right? Like it just shows you like how much younger Lane Hudson is compared to someone like Clark, and he is having like heads and shoulders above. Like I guess technically Clark isn't a rookie, right? Because I think he probably just played like the bare minimum of games, but in essence, this is his first full year in the NHL, right?
he's a
So
seventh or eighth overall pick, if I can recall it right.
yeah, he's pretty. I forget the exact number, but he's definitely top
Yeah,
10. And he was hyped, right? Like, and he definitely is very, very talented offensively, right? But
his
like Los
skating,
Angeles is,
his skating is the biggest problem for him. He was
yeah,
the concern. I remember with Michael De Villano. We
yeah,
talk a lot about him, and for us, he was really his skating was a problem. He's now
yeah,
72 game in NHL, so he's past
yeah,
that one over there. And
yeah,
I was right, eighth overall pick in
yeah.
2021 for him. So look, it's a great defense. He was a great year, a couple of years in OHL, right? A great slap shot, but skating was a problem for him. The physicality of the game is a concern too.
Yeah. I think Run with Kings here is saying I think Clark was sent down because of Dowdy's contract, and they think he needs more experience in training. So listen, like he's what 22 years old, 20, 21, 22 years old. Like he's not a young guy anymore. Like I think he's getting up there. So I think Los Angeles is for real, coach. They want to win some games, right? So he's gonna have to play on both sides of the puck and be responsible so that they can put him out there. But he's an excellent weapon on the power play. Still lots of upsides. We'll see how he goes. Looking at these other news items here as you go through the chat, what an interesting case with Brendan Saad being. First of all, he was waived, right? Went through waivers. And then after that, we hear that, okay, so he didn't get picked up on waivers. And then he decides, so he had discussions with management, decided that they were going to mutually disintegrate his contract, basically agree to terminate his contract. And so that means, guys, like the cap goes away for St. Louis. They don't have to, it's not like on their cap anymore. It just goes away. The player is actually agreeing to forego the rest of his contract. And to me, this is a hockey player, right? Like you can see, he doesn't want to end up in the AHL. He still wants to play. He's made a lot of money in his life in his career so far. He wants to play. So, kind of in the immortal words of Roberto Luongo, my contract sucks. Sometimes you have situations where the player says, "Oh man, like I know my contract sucks, but I still really want to play." So, to me, this is a signal of a guy who still really wants to play hockey and doesn't want his albatross of a contract to be weighing him down, and just wants to move on from this situation and see, can he Go back to Colorado, or like you look at Colorado. They need depth right now. McFarland's been talking about depth. Is he a guy that they could add to their team for $750,000 and play some games and with some experience? He's not very fast. He doesn't move around. The wheels have fallen off a little bit, but lots of
Can put a puck in
experience.
the net, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So,
I don't think so. You're going to like my compare, but sometimes I'm thinking like him, like Mike Hoffman, where Mike Hoffman can put a puck in the net, like he was
yeah,
a good puck. I'm not Hoffman with Montreal Canadiens, but Hoffman he did the same thing with the Blues. He signed a contract over there, and then they finished. He get UFA, but sadly good. You have a couple of years with a great years with the Colorado Avalanche, the Chicago
oh yeah,
Blackhawks. A
yeah.
team needs some depth with a contract, a lower contract for the rest of the season. Sal is going to get there. So for me, don't be surprised. The Edmonton Oilers will be one of them. The
Yeah.
Rangers could be another one looking for a player like him. Then
Chicago,
Dallas
Chicago.
Star.
Yeah,
They have money because of Seguin injury,
yeah.
right?
Well, he's not going to cost a lot of money. Yeah, he's like it's again like he's going to go either if he wants to win. Any of the teams that you just mentioned are going to be good targets for him, right? Like a good depth player. And if there's nothing there, why not go back to Chicago, right? Like another veteran guy to surround Bedard. Like they're looking for anything to kind of just give Bedard a little bit of insulation, right? So I think he'll definitely end up somewhere, Coach. Like I compare him. I think he's a Hoffman is a very one dimensional player and kind of hurts you on the ice. The only thing that really is a problem with Saad is his skating, right? Like he's a good hockey player. He knows how to play hockey. He plays both sides of the puck. He's not going to hurt you on the ice. He just doesn't get around. The wheels have fallen off a little bit. But as in a depth role where you can play him under 10 minutes a game, I think he would be just fine with the right cast around him for sure. And Grubauer, whoa, Ron Francis, buddy, Seattle is a mess, Coach. How much longer do you think Ron Francis is going to last? Like, I don't see how. To me, this summer, ownership is going to do something there because
Definitely, I agree with you about that for sure. El answers in the house, and the house will come back. El, thanks so much. A lot of people and knock the door. So thanks for really being part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the likes. Here we go. The Montreal Canadiens news. We will talk about this. Well, first of all, the Kaiden Guhle got a surgery during the night, and then he was going out. Or not, we don't know exactly, but the rumor is 6 to 8 weeks. I would put this that way. The rumor is 6 to 8 weeks from doctor and to talk about his injury. They call up Struble and maybe someone else before they go on the road trip Sunday again Anaheim for 3 game and 4 night at West Coast. So my point to you that is for the people in the chat. Um, where I said 6 to 8 weeks, and I believe on that one. I'll give you an example, Marko. Again, you can tell me if you agree or disagree. If you remember the injury of Reinbacher or Laney, we talk about Montreal again, so can go whether they're. Usually, you have a ECL or something like that at the knee. Usually, you wait a couple of days. Sometimes the swollen. Secondly, you wait to have a second opinion or a third opinion. The plug can do that now in any shop. So you can go that direction over there. But Cooley did not wait. He go right away there on the surgery for is it alliteration of
yeah. Well, so I think that's the difference, Coach. Is when it comes to the injuries like Line and Reinbacher, there's nuance to it, right? But a lacerated muscle,
yeah.
it's pretty black and white, right? It's not
Yeah,
like, oh
exactly.
no. It's pretty obvious, right? So that's why they move so quickly to do it.
So that's the reason I feel like it could be shorter at a long term, like 6 to 8 months, like they said on the internet at some point. So laceration on
Yeah.
the quad about that. So again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not scientific, so I'm not saying that. This coming from two different doctors, one from Ranger on the BMP, another one on the YouTube channel cannot remember his name, talk about an injury about approximately 6 to 8 weeks. They expect him to be back before the end of the season. We'll see. Again, don't say, coach, he said that. I just said the rumor is what I heard. So
I'm going
I
to
could,
clip this, coach.
tomorrow
I'm
could be
going
very
to share it.
round.
I'm going to clip this part and I'm going to edit it to make it sound, and we're going to be all over X. No, it's really unfortunate, coach. I'm seeing in the chat here, people talking about, kind of is the whole reputation thing, right? Guhle is injury prone. Here, this is what I'm going to say, guys. I don't, I don't know if I believe the idea. Like, I don't think there's such a thing as injury prone. What I do think though is that he's clumsy. Kaiden Guhle is he's kind of a clumsy guy. I know he did catch a rut, but one thing that I've been talking about for a long time, and again, it was tough for him because he was playing on his wrong side a lot of the times and everything else. But there's a lot of times, Entertap and I talked about it here on the show a lot. Look, those inflatable things that you see in a car sales place where that blows in the wind, kind of like that. Like that's kind of what Kaiden Guhle has kind of always reminded me of. He's kind of unstable on his feet, kind of clumsy a little bit, still kind of growing into his body. So just a really unlucky thing. Like, obviously he caught a little bit of a rut and then he tripped over himself and it's kind of like he got shot by a sniper out of nowhere, and just really unfortunate. Right. So, it's going to be really tough. You're listening to Martin Saint-Louis talk about it today. Their press conference was before they knew how long he was going to be out. At this point, it's out indefinitely, right? So we just don't really know. But one thing that I thought that was very interesting, Coach, I'm interested to see kind of what you think and what people in the chat think. It was an interesting question from the reporter who was asking, is Montreal in the better place now to deal with an injury to someone like Guhle than they were, say, at the beginning of the year, because of their collective play has gotten better, right? So because they play better, they understand the system better, even though it hasn't been better the last, say, 5 games. But in theory, they've definitely been playing better than they did, say, in October, right? So since everybody knows the system better, Martin Saint-Louis was saying that he's confident that the team can, like, you're not going to replace Kaiden Guhle. Like, you're not going to, like, I guess there's an interesting question as to, okay, is Struble going to come in and play in that spot, or do you move Jacky up from the bottom pair to play with somebody else? Like, it would be interesting to see what they do. But whatever it is that they do, an interesting question is, because Montreal is playing better as a team and everybody knows the system better and everything else, will they have a better chance now to get through it and still be competitive and hopefully still stay in the mix than they would have at the beginning of the year when they were all over the place? It's an interesting question. It will be very interesting to see how powerful or how strong their team game is, and if they can overcome a big piece like Guhle, who, as we know, plays top minutes, is always playing against the other team's best players. So curious to see what you think, Coach, and people in the chat. Do you think Montreal's overall collective, their better play, is going to make it easier for them to move on without Guhle, or do you think it's just going to collapse? Curious to see what you think.
Yeah, I think they are more prepared as a team, right? Said that, unless they're going to missing, not because they're going to missing a goalie, they will have an impact. We're going to have an impact, of course, but I think they have a chance to bring a Jack, a Mayu, a Struble inside. I think they're going to get more responsibility now. Savard play more minute as on the game. They modify the pairing for sure, but at the end, for me, it's like they are more prepared. I don't know the outcome would be better or not better because you never know. But I will say to you, they still have a problem if you don't have a Mayu in the lineup because you're going to use another defenseman on the wrong side. Like I was said to you, I was disagree to put Lane Hudson on the right side because he should be on the left side. Like Kaiden Guhle should be on the left side to his progression, his evaluation, everything like that. A bit like to put Kirby Dack on the winger. I think you have to go through Kirby Dack as a center until to the end of the year to really know exactly what he looked like if he's a part of the game. So for me, I like Jayden Struble, but they have two philosophy behind that, Marco. I think you're going to tell me if I'm right or wrong, but you have a Martin St. Louis want to win, and you have management want to progress in the evaluation of the players. And I think that's the problem right now at some point because Martin St. Louis want to win, 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 win. And sometimes you make decision versus the winning game versus what it should be if you are really focusing on rebuilding team. If Montreal Canadiens was at the bottom five like they was before, I think those kind of decisions, Marco, could be changing because they may be trying. So you know what? We bring Mayu. We have to give him a chance. We have right win. So and so to back, I think as a team concept, yes, they are better with more prepared. But can the outcome will be the same? That's I cannot have an answer for that. Does it make sense?
No, for sure. No, 100%, right? Like it all comes down to execution, right? Like, and that's honestly what I think the problem over the last 5 games, Sandy, we has talked about it, is execution, right? Like it's not that they don't know what to do. It's not anything, that anything's too complicated. It's just a little bit of poor execution, poor concentration at times and things like that, right? So you're going to put players in situations that they're not used to being, and that's going to maybe make it difficult for them to execute at the same level that Guhle was executing at. But it'll be interesting, right? Like it's easier to execute when you know what you're doing. I think in any job, anybody here in the chat, anybody that if you're trained on how to do your job, you're going to do your job better, right? If other people around you are also doing their job, it means you can do your job better. You're not trying to fix the mistakes of everybody around you and all that, right? So, so I think it will be better than it was, or like it'll be better than what it was at the beginning of the year. But there's still going to be more ups and downs maybe than we would have seen if Guhle was there. But I think you're right, Coach, too. Like if Montreal wasn't in the mix right now, you might see a different player up, right? Like they might take a poke at bringing Mayu or Engstrom or somebody like that up. I'm still holding out hope that if you've seen Reinbacher skate in these non-contact situations, he looks pretty damn good. He looks pretty damn good out there. So holding out hope from the beginning of the season, Coach. I don't know if you remember, but in training camp, my bet was on Reinbacher making the team over Mayu. He had a very slow start to the camp. Everybody's like freaking out over how good Hudson was, and everybody's like, Reinbacher's not doing anything. And I was like, remember one of my headlines was slow and steady wins the race. I still think we'll see, but it's not impossible that Reinbacher, I think he's going to get some games in Laval to start here to get warmed up. But I wouldn't be surprised if he plays some games in Montreal this year either.
Yeah. Do you expect Montreal, Carl, because they're not going to be on the trip with 6 defensemen? I think they will get another one. Do you expect Logan Mailloux to be there?
I would be surprised that they would call him up. If they're going to call it Mailloux, they're going to call him up to play. They're not going to call him up to kind of do that because, again, they do care about what's happening in Laval too. That's really important to them. So, I'm not sure who they would decide to call up instead, but I would be surprised unless they really plan on playing either Engstrom or Mailloux, I would be very surprised that they call them up. So maybe if you're going to do that, you send Struble back down and you call one of them up if that's what you're going to do.
Because you cannot be on the road with 6 defensemen, Marco.
But that's what I'm saying. If you want to, yeah, okay, yeah, no, I see what you mean. So I don't know. Like, I guess they really like who's the new guy they got, Offmeyer or whatever they got. He's playing like power play right now.
Yeah, Offenmeyer.
Yeah, Offenmeyer.
Oh, yeah.
So you can bring. I would be surprised though if they bring up one of those guys just to kind of be the 7th defenseman, even if it's just for a game or two. I would be surprised. But it might be, or maybe it's the time that Montreal goes out and they make a depth move. For the end of the season, right? Like you go get a depth guy to come in and just be a 7th defenseman. That's another opportunity as well too. So
why to now Pizza think about maybe a trade? Yeah, maybe it could happen that way. Pizza don't say it's wrong about that. But why to call it an Offenmeyer where we 27 years old, whatever it is, compared to bring a Mailloux or another prospect for Montreal to have the taste to be a part of the Montreal Canadiens and to see what he looked like if he played. I think Montreal, if I was Montreal Canadiens right now, and I could be wrong, people in the chat could be agree, disagree with me too. Marco, tell me what you think. If I go on the road, I have Logan Mailloux in my roster. I would put Mailloux over Jayden Struble. I would try to play the game with three right defensemen and three left defensemen. So I have Hudson, Madison, and Jekai. I have Savard, Carrier, and Mailloux. I think I feel good for me at that on that situation. That would give a chance for Mayu. We're going to give us his evaluation. We're easy right now because Pascal Vincent worked with him a lot since the beginning of the season, and I think he have a great. He struggled for the last couple of weeks, but the last 2 3 weeks, Mayu is maybe the best defenseman with productivity,
He's
everything like
good
that. Is better.
offensively. So,
But
okay. So this is what I mean, Coach. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I wouldn't be 100% against them bringing up Mayu if they're going to play him. They have to play him though if they bring him up. If they're not going to play him, leave him down. In my view, this is the same thing that we saw with Jacky last year. Okay, everybody like when Jacky started to produce in Laval, people that don't watch the games are like, "Oh, Jacky is really improving. He's doing everything that Montreal has asked him to go to do down there and everything else." Everybody was all excited. They're like, "Why aren't they calling him up? He's ready to come up." Da da da. So, but the thing is, if you watch the games, you can see he was still making all the same positional mistakes that he was making in Montreal. It's just that he was producing offense. Mayu, same thing, right? Like he's been producing offensively, but you watch the games, Coach. Like there's still a lot of issues there from a positioning perspective, right? And his reads defensively and all that, right? So I don't think he's ready. You can bring him up and see if magically, we know sometimes that certain players play better with pros than they do in the AHL. So you can take a look to see, hey, maybe he's learned enough and he looks better with pros than he does in the AHL. That happens time to time. But if you see the same problems with his reads very quickly, then I wouldn't waste his time up there too much because from what I'm seeing in his games in Laval, like we saw his offensive production go down a little bit, probably because he was trying to focus a little bit more on his defensive game, which is great. That's what you want to see. But there's not enough improvement yet for me, anyways, to be super confident that he's ready to come in and play in the system that Martin Saint Louis. It's because we know, Coach, it's reads in Montreal. Like if you're going to play this hybrid system where you're on man and then you have to go to a zone, we saw at the beginning of the year, even Jacky, players like that, the reason Montreal was struggling, they weren't able to make their reads. The key to all of Montreal's success in their defensive zone is players finally learned how to make the reads. That's Mayu's kryptonite right now is reads in the defensive zone and gaps and all that. So until he learns that, I don't know if he's ready. But hey, like I said, sometimes we see it all the time. There's players that they just kind of coast in the AHL, and all of a sudden you put them in the NHL with pros, and whoa, like because I think it was we've heard it a couple times, right? Like even Dobek said it. Like sometimes in the NHL it's easier because players know what they're doing. They're where they're supposed to be, right? So we'll see. Like it's not impossible, but like I said, if they call him up, they better play him.
awesome. A lot of people in the chat. Thanks for being part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. We have to move on. We have a lot of things to talk about. The recap game very quickly. If you don't mind, Winnipeg beat the Montreal Canadiens by a score of 4-1 yesterday for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to give you a bit what happening, and then you're going to give us what you feel about the game. Montreal right now, with before the game tonight in NHL, there are 7 in the Atlantic Division, 11 and West Eastern Conference, 20 in the NHL. They are 2 points still behind the wild card in NHL, 8th spot. Slafkovsky score is 8 goal of the year. We talk about Martin Saint Louis decision a little bit more deeper. That the bad second period for the Montreal Canadiens. The third goal at 0.5 was the killer of the game. We like the effort for the Montreal again, but it was not good enough against a team like Winnipeg Jet. No penalty again. Montreal have only one power play in the last 2 games. Finally, the Jet are great, and Hellebuck just simplified the job for his team. And that's why they are the top. So put this all together, save the pot. Marco, it's your turn to tell us what you feel about the game for Montreal again the Winnipeg Jet. And the chat, give us what you think about the Montreal game. Give us your own opinion. And we have an injury, Anthony Richard, but that's another subject for another time. So, Marco, let us know about the game.
Yeah, so going through your points here, like first I'll say that, they came out. The whole team, I think, was aware that they needed to come out and have better starts, and we saw that they had a very good start. I think I was really, really happy with the first period. It's a very classic coach. Like, you see one team dominate and not necessarily get rewarded for it too much, and you're always nervous, right? Like, you're like, holy shit, they're kind of carrying the play right now, and it's only 1-0. And then all of a sudden, boom, they come out, Winnipeg ties it. I think they only had like 5 or 6 shots at that point. Montreal was dominating in shots. They were carrying the play. And then all of a sudden, so period's over. Montreal's had the much, much better play throughout the whole period. And Connor is, he's just a poison in front of the net, right? Like, he doesn't need any time at all. What we saw, I don't see here at one of your points, like, all the goals that Winnipeg scored were all the same, just players that Montreal was caught kind of like puck watching, and a player was just left alone for less than 1 second, like a millisecond. The player was left alone, and boom, it's in Montreal's net, right? So very good first period. They're probably a little unlucky. Hellebuck, had a really good first period. They missed some chances, so they're probably a little bit unlucky to come out of that first period tied, right? Then you're right. The second period, I think Winnipeg kind of rode the momentum from kind of tying the game. You saw Montreal, for whatever reason, they're just not able to establish their forecheck the same as the first period. A combination of, I saw that you had there as one of your points, like, not enough effort. I don't think it was an effort thing, Coach. I think Winnipeg just really.
When I know it's sorry, is they make effort, but not enough to win the game, right?
Okay.
They not.
Yeah.
It was not enough to make an impact to try the game. But
I think the effort
was there. The 2 period was there. 2 of the 3 period was solid.
Yeah, and I think even the effort in this, like, I wouldn't say that it was like they weren't trying in the second period. It just, Winnipeg was really coming out of their zone much quicker. Montreal wasn't able. It's not like Montreal quit and tried not to forecheck. It just, Winnipeg was getting the puck out a lot more. They were keeping the puck in a lot more. Montreal, so it was like the total opposite, right? They were just getting stuck in their zone, getting pinned down there a little bit longer. And that was kind of the story of the game. Winnipeg takes the lead, and then you're right, there's that heartbreaker goal with 0.5 seconds left. I think that's where you were mentioning about Martin Saint-Louis' poor decision. And it kind of goes to my headline, right? So there's less than 10 seconds left in the period. You've got Dvorak out there with Pizzetta. Again, like, Pizzetta hasn't probably played in like 8 minutes or something like that. So again, this is the impact of not being able to roll 4 lines. I'm not saying that if RHP was in the lineup that they wouldn't have scored that goal, but when you're messing around, replacing guys and switching them around, that's where things get screwed up, right? Like, if you have the opportunity to have four lines that you're just rolling all the time, I think it's a huge advantage. So that was an absolute backbreaker. Montreal, St. Louis probably, second thinking that one a little bit, having Pizzetta on the ice, right? And then in the third period, I think Montreal, they had their shots. Like, they had a breakaway. They had several opportunities. Hudson, I think, hit the crossbar. Beautiful shot from him. That would have been awesome if Hudson, I think he only has 4 goals. It would have been crazy if 2 of his 4 goals were against Hellebuck, the best goaltender in the NHL. So I think overall, Coach, my takeaway from this is St. Louis was very much focused. He talked about, in the last, say, 4 or 5 games, their defensive play was not up to the standard that they had established for themselves over, say, December and January, right? So I think overall, remember that game? I think it's against Winnipeg. You remember that they were blown out by the Rangers 9-2 or something like that?
No, the Pittsburgh. The next game after Pittsburgh, they go back to Winnipeg. They lost 4-2.
Exactly, right? But if you look at that game, they lost, but they played better. They had a good sound game.
Yeah.
You hope that this is kind of the same thing, right? So it's a bit of a reset. What I always say, coach, is when you're on a winning streak, the last 2-3 games of your winning streak, you start to get bad habits, but you win games that you shouldn't win, right? Then when you start losing a couple and you're on a losing streak, you start playing better, but you lose 1 or 2 games that you should have won or that should have been closer. It's when a wheel is turning, it takes a while for the wheel to slow down and to go the other direction, right? So when things are going good or when things are going bad, the momentum is just kind of carrying you forward, and then it slows down until you can turn the momentum the other way. So you hope that this game will be exactly like the last Winnipeg game, where yes, they didn't get the result, but there's a lot of positive things other than losing Kaiden Guhle. Obviously, I think overall they were closer to the standard that they established for themselves that gave them so much success all throughout December and January. They're going to have another. We're going to preview the Minnesota game later. Very similar team. Really, really defensively, they play heavy. They play a good team game, so it's going to be another very good challenge coming up. But I liked what I see from that game. I left that game encouraged that the whole team is still bought into what they want to do, and that's the most important thing. We're talking about it right before before the show, coach. It's shocking what some teams in the NHL with less talent can do when everybody's pulling in the same direction. So if Montreal has any chance to stay in the mix here, everybody needs to buy in like they were in December and January. Every part in the machine needs to be clicking in order for things to work. So let's hope that this is a bit of a reboot. When your internet goes out, you just have to kind of power cycle your modem, and then you wait and the lights blink, and then boom, you're back online. So let's hope that was a good reboot and we see a new Montreal Canadiens team here for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, honestly, the second period was not the best period. That's what honestly, the game dropped in their hands. I think for me, missed opportunities to break away Josh Anderson. They have a great shot for Cole Caulfield. I think Nick Scale another shot. Like one thing I would say to you, and for me, I know what the Jets are, what they accomplished, but I feel like they turned the puck a lot on the defensive zone in the first period to give a chance to the Montreal Canadiens to score 2-3 goals. They can't do this because Hellebuck, it looks so easy. Remind Carey Price, right? I know goalie may be a big save, but Hellebuck is always at the right spot, everything. And I think the reason behind that, I think Montreal could score 2-3 goals at the first period, but if they could capitalize on those opportunities, it was not good enough. Martin Seri said, after 2 bad games, the 40 shot, the 45 shot, they practiced Monday and they tried to cut the shot. They did that. Obviously, they have no power play. That's not helping them. I think for me, the biggest difference between Montreal Canadiens and what the Jets are, big body, right? They are big body and they are really good. 80% of the game, guys, is around the board. The puck walk around the board. And they are really good. They are very good between the 3 feet and the board. They win the battle. They protect the puck very well from the top line to the bottom. And you do this right now without Adam Laurie. This is another reason why the structure of the Jet is really deep. If you look about the defensemen, it's not like an amazing, great defenseman core compared to other teams. But the fact they have Hellebuck make better job, he represent a better for the defenseman. At the beginning of the year, I was questionable about the fact they lost Brandon Dillon as the defenseman. No experience too much about Logan Stanley and Zandberg. Right? Yeah. And last night they played with Fleury. And in my opinion, DeMelo played better. DeMelo remind me a little bit more what Lindgren does with the Rangers with Adam Fox, what DeMelo does with Josh Morrissey. Sometimes a connection or the chemistry between two players match up better at what, for what they are. A little bit like in the past, Chariot, Petrie example, or whatever they are. So for me, this is really impressive thing. I think I agree with you about we see at least the effort, but for sure Montreal they are not good enough to beat a Winnipeg Jet. At least they do most a perfect game, and we see some mistake. Better last game compared to the last 4 or 5 games for Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to give you guys a couple of a couple of stats about the Montreal Canadiens the next couple of minutes to give you an idea where we are today. But quickly, Marco, stood out, obscure, office. Everybody in the chat can ask a bit more what you think about that.
Sure. For me, coach, I think I'm going to go with Slafkovsky. Stood out, like I mentioned earlier. I think one of the best performances that we've seen from him. Not just like I was really impressed with the goal that he scored because, like you said, he found open ice, he released his shot quickly, which is we've all been begging him to do that, right? Just get the puck off your stick fast, and you're going to score some goals, right? So, other than the goal, though, if you go back and watch the games, it's his puck handling. I've never seen him more relaxed with the puck this season. He had like zone entries where he was carrying the puck and dishing it and things like that. So I think one of Slav's best games, and definitely rewarded with a good result there. Obscure, that's a kind of a tough one. I'm going to say Anderson because he's playing injured. He's still grinding out there, playing physical. He's playing. They moved him up, or I guess like now basically what you can consider the Evans line, the third line with Armia and Anderson, and again just a really solid effort by him. Missed on the breakaway, but he's playing hurt. Like he even got crunched into the boards at some point, and he came off and he was on the bench grimacing for a while. So he missed practice. So just a lot of respect for what Josh Anderson is doing right now for the team, putting the team first and gutting it out really because it's not easy for him right now. The Office. This might be a bit surprising. William Carrier. I know that he's been a big game changer, and I'm still really happy with what he's brought to the team. But he was the first one to admit it last night. I think he was -2 last night.
Yeah.
And
That's
in both cases, yeah. So he was -2, and in both cases, like he was puck watching, and he mentioned it. So kudos to him. Like he acknowledged it in the press conference in the post game that they need to do better at that and not just be puck watching. But I've been noticing he's not a big guy, right? Like he gives it all. He gives his heart. But like he does lose a lot of those board battles as a coach, and often the team will come out with the puck. And even Slafkovsky said, like, we have like the forwards have to come down and make sure that those, because like we talked about the Jets goals, all the goals they scored pretty much were all guys that were in the slot that were forgotten, right? And sometimes it's going to happen, that the D-man's going to lose the battle and the forward's going to make a play. So it's up to the forwards to come in and cover those guys. But overall, I would just, have a chat with Carey. I would bring him into the office. Say, Alex, on est super content de t'avoir. Je sais que tu es super fier d'être un Canadien de Montréal. We're all really happy to have you here. Just need you to have your head a little bit more on a swivel here. Let's not be puck watching. For those board battles, go back to what you're doing in your first 10 games. Keep it simple, off the glass. That's where you're having a lot of success. Don't get too caught up in making little plays here in the D zone. Just keep it simple. So I'm still very happy with Carrier, but I'm seeing a little bit of a dip in his performance over the last couple games. Nothing to be too worried about, but that's who I would have.
Awesome. So I'm surprised everybody. Brendan Gallagher for me. I think Gallagher showed a lot at the beginning of the first period. He was really show again. Warriors show some leadership, try to make an impact as during the game. I think the overreact with him was a good line of the first line side of the first period. So we go with Gallagher on that one. My obscure is a little bit different about that one over there for my obscure. But I would have to give back again to Jake Evan on that one. I think Jake Evan have not a bad game overall. Of course, be easy go with Slafkovsky or other. But you look about the defensemen, guys, empty net for the wall, by the way, 3-1.
Yep.
So
it's
anyway.
Going to be a tough game.
Yep. So point behind that, so I'll go with him. And definitely my office guys, Patrick Lanning. Patrick Lanning is on the one I think I need more. Of course, the second line was poor. I will maybe bring everyone on the second line and Marko, but I think we need more for Patrick Lanning. I can understand injury. I can understand everything, but I think yesterday. No power play. He's almost disappeared in the game. We have only one shot yesterday. We need more shot for Patrick Lenny. A better chance to win. So again, I think that's the reason behind that. So the Toronto Maple Leafs lost again, but the score 3-1 tonight. They get a miss on the wall. Don't take the wall easy tonight for
Oh,
that one. We'll go to fire up before we talk about Demidov, Marko. So the rumor about the Montreal Canadiens, the Savard. I think now have to stay, Marco, because the injury of Guhle maybe now the game uh, can use tie his hands up now because Savard have to stay around Montreal again. And we rumor is Jake Evans got an offer by the Washington Capitals during the summer for a second round pick. Look like from Frank, I don't remember. He have five
Marko.
team. Yeah. New Jersey Devils, Washington, Toronto, Calgary, and Columbus Blue Jacket are looking for Jake Evans. If you get a first round pick, do you trade Jake Evans for the people in the chat? And do you think now David Savard have to stay? I'm gonna talk about this in the chat. So time for everybody in the chat. We're going to give you a 2 minute, Marco. Here we go.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, Coach. So, if you watch Frank Saravelli, like Daily Face Off, they have a lot of great content there, good podcasts and everything. They've been talking a lot about this, the Jake Evans rumors, and they're definitely very, very in favor. Much they think it would be stupid for Montreal not to trade Evans, even for a second round pick. But again, like you listen to to people outside of the Montreal market talk about this, and I really don't think that they understand the importance that it is for Montreal to play important games. And they're like, they just look at the point production from Evans. They're like, okay, so okay, even if you want Montreal to play important games, is Jake Evans going to make a big difference in Montreal being competitive towards the end of the year? And they only look at 11 goals. They can easily get 11 goals from somebody else, but they don't understand that he's the number one player in the NHL for PK. Like, look at Montreal's PK against Winnipeg again last night. This is the only reason they really stayed in the game, because how incredible Jake Evans is on the PK. All the important faceoffs he takes in the defensive zone. If you don't have him taking those faceoffs, well, guess what? Suzuki has to take those faceoffs, and now that means he's going to have less ozone starts, which means his offensive production is go down. Like, there's all these trickle down effects you have. You don't think there's going to be much of an impact if you lose a player like that, but all these little ripple things start happening, and it really starts impacting your team. I really, really don't feel a second round pick is worth it, to be honest, at all. Daily Face Off today, they did a comparison. They looked at, I think it was Wenberg got a second and a fourth last year. They're looking at different comparables. Mantha got a second and a fourth. So if that's the market, Coach, you're getting a second and a fourth for Jake Evans, I would rather just lose him to free agency, to be honest. Would you? Here's the question: if you're Ken Hughes, is a second round pick worth more than the experience of Montreal playing important games this year and being in the mix? Players like Slafkovsky, players like Hudson, like Suzuki and Caulfield, they've already been there. They've made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. But all the other players that haven't really played important games, and the importance of establishing a winning culture, I think it's worth just keeping Jake Evans there. That's even without wanting to re-sign him. Even if you think he's going to walk, I would still keep him instead of a second and a fourth round pick. Now I know you can bundle a second round pick with another thing, and you can move up. I'm not saying a second round pick is not good. I just think that right now, with where Montreal is in their program, they have a lot of assets already. If they were somewhere else, like let's say they didn't have 2 second round picks already, they didn't have 2 third round picks, they didn't have 2 first round picks, I might feel a bit differently. But Montreal is already in a very strong position with the assets that they have. They can afford to have an own rental, which is what that would be. If they're not going to sign Jake Evans, it's like they go out on the market and they get a rental to help them have a strong end to the season. And I think the dressing room deserves that. Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon was on the Sick podcast, I think, last week, talking about how he thinks that the team has earned for them to to give them some help. So to me, I wouldn't do it for a first round pick. It's tougher. It's a tougher decision to make for sure. But I still think I'd stick with it because the first round pick is going to be, like a 27th overall pick or something like that. Maybe if I can punt it till the year after, I would be more interested than for this year's draft, to be honest. So
I'll ask you for a prospect, Marco.
Well, again, so it depends on the quality of prospect, right? If there's a deal out there, Entertap for, so if you're moving Evans and say another prospect or a pick for a really high end center prospect from, like, let's say for whatever reason, there's St. Louis wants to trade you something for forget the name of their guy there, the Dvorsky or something like that, right? So if there's like a potential top 6 center that Montreal really needs, or a right hand shot defenseman that's like a Nemec or something like that, that if you can package Evans with something for Nemec, that's a different conversation, right? But if it's just straight up for a second round pick, I'm not sure I'm doing it.
Yeah, for me, a first round pick, I go right there. I don't have no problem with that part over there. So we'll see what's happening about this. Marco, I want to show to you. We have a super sticker from Ronnie Odette. We're going to celebrate this very quickly, Marco, because I have other subject for you. Here we go. You did it again, Ronnie. Here we go. Thanks so much for the super chat, Mr. Ronnie. I appreciate that. Welcome back in the house. Don't forget, everybody, to click on the likes. We are on fire about that one there. I want to give you a little bit what happening with the Montreal Canadiens, where it's not looking better. And I want to show to you guys the difference between December and January, between the 2 months. And the number are not lying to the people. And from those number, I want for you to tell us a bit more how you feeling after that. What is going to be for the bit in front of Montreal Canadiens. So let's see happening there. And December is the first column. I apologize the word. And the January is the second column. The goal for, they dropped from 3.36 to 2.85. Goal again, they increased from 2.86 for 3.15. The power play dropped for 5%, 21 to 16. The PK dropped of 4.6% from 84 to 80. The tie game, this is the most important thing about that. During the month of December, Montreal again tied the game only 4 times. Why? Because it was lead, or it was already a tie game, so they didn't have to run after the clock. Right now, Montreal again did it 8 times. They double the time they're running after the score and to tie the game. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then the third line, the 4 line combined together. The number of the point percentage for the Montreal make in December, they got 42% of the Montreal Canadiens. And this month, they are only 14%. The number of the point of the third line, the 4 line, all together, go assist 42 points in December. And now Montreal is only at 16 points in December for the third line and 4 line. Said that, that's the reason when Montreal Canadiens struggling more. Is it December they can play at the same level? If yes, how they can do that? If not, can Montreal consider what he did in December and January? Where are they going to finish right now? If I can recall it, they have only 7 wins. They have 7 wins. We was the goal to get there. And they play one more game against Minnesota. And that will finish the month approximately at 500. A little bit 1 point over, but still. So how you feel about those numbers, and what tell you for the Montreal Canadiens, and what you see a little bit the future for the rest of the season for Montreal Canadiens?
Coach, this is very, very interesting. So if you remember, like, I know you're in the chat, so I don't know if you heard everything I said there when I was talking, but I was just talking about how when you're on a winning streak, towards the end of a winning streak, even if bad habits start to creep in, you still find ways to win games. If you remember, people kind of like, I remember people in the chat like, oh, Marko is always a Debbie Downer. I was like, guys, it's nice. They're still winning, but there's some things there. And everybody's like, no, everything's still really good. But there's a couple weeks now I've been talking about this, and I've been trying to creep it in, guys. So what we're seeing here is in January, it's kind of like the steam is starting, or the air is starting to come out of the balloon a little bit in early January. They're playing so well. Like those games, that shutout that Dobesh got in Florida, probably the most perfect game Montreal played all season. They only allowed like 5 scoring chances during that game. Just they were on top of everything. The machine was purring, coach. Like everything was going super well. But towards the end of that streak, you started to see they started to having to do more comeback wins, like you just said. Their goals against are going up. The offense from the fourth line. If you go back to one of my headlines like a month ago, coach, that was another one of my concerns is this run that even in December, were they artificially being carried by too much offense coming from the bottom six, from the Evans line? Because it was not sustainable to have that much offense coming from the fourth line. Like it wasn't going to continue like that. Like I think we all realize that. So what we just talked about, coach, with this Winnipeg game is, okay, so they had that game against Pittsburgh where they really shit the bed and it was a terrible game. And they had that reset game in Winnipeg. They didn't win, but things started to go a bit better, right? So what you're seeing, coach, is exactly what I was just saying. Your numbers prove it out. Since like the end of December and into January and right now until January, for the most part, they had so much confidence, coach, from playing well. That confidence, it carries with you. But even if you have lots of confidence, if you start getting bad habits, and it's going to start to eat at you, and eventually that good luck is going to run out. And that's what we saw over the last week. Now, like Martin Saint-Louis said,
Super Chat.
And you know that $5. Can we do it, Marko, before you finish your point? Here we go.
For sure.
Super Chat.
Thank you, Ronnie, again. A super chat followed by a super sticker. So thank you so much. Thanks, Marko, to do that. We're not done, Mr. Marko, because we have Jimbo join the party with another super chat. Jimbo, thanks so much for that one over there. He followed Ronnie, so let's do it again. Super chat number 3, hat trick. Jimbo, thanks so much for that super chat. Everything. Thanks so much, Marko, to do that at the Hockey National show. So I apologize. I cut you on most at the end. So one more thing do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I almost ripped the screen off my computer doing that super chat, but it was fun. So coach, like those are really important numbers, right? So the moral of the story is that, like I said, when you're confident, that confidence is good. It's gonna give you like more energy. You're gonna play with a lot of swagger, but eventually those bad habits are gonna catch up. So what I like, the last thing I was gonna say is, what does Saint Louis talk about all the time? He says, whatever it is that happens with the results, we always go with truth. And that is the good news, guys, is that the players themselves and Saint Louis, it's not like, so when I say that they were not playing as well and they were riding the results of their confidence, they knew it. It's not like they didn't know. And that's very good news, because what does Martin talk about? Like, and we talk about this all the time, coaches. It's important for players to be able to self-evaluate properly, right? If you think you're the best, but you're not the best, it's going to be hard for someone to get to coach you and convince you because you think you're not doing anything wrong. So the good news is that Saint Louis knows it. The players know it. They need to get back to what they were doing in December. Now, your other question was, can they do it moving forward? The answer is yes. We're just looking at Minnesota. Teams like, and this is, coach, we had this debate and you were on the other side of it. We disagreed at the time. You would make the argument that Montreal just doesn't have the talent to compete, right? Obviously, it's important to have talent, But we see teams that have a little bit less talent all the time across the NHL. If you play the right way, you play together as a team, you can do a lot and you can play well and you can make it very hard for other teams. So if Montreal is going to stay in the mix and reverse the trend that we're seeing here towards the end of January, Coach, where you pointed out goals against are up, goals for are down, PK still good, power play not so much. Those are all fixable things. It means that they have to go back to what was working in December. It's going to be a little bit harder with Guhle not there, but I think they can do it. I think they'll stay in the mix. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I think if they go back to what they're doing, they'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't think he will make the playoff, but I think he's hanging there, right? Because there are too many penalties. I don't see Montreal losing 7, 8, 9 games. That's the only way you can get out right now is to losing 7, 6, 5, 7, 8 games. Because you get 1 point, 2 point, but because it's so hard, at least you win 6 games straight. Like the Islanders, look, Islanders, they have like 7-1 the last 10 games, and they sit behind everybody. It's like
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
it's crazy. So we'll see what's happening. The subject of tonight, guys, is about Ivan Demidov. We want to talk about this. We have other subjects to go. We out here at 10:30 maximum. So everybody in the chat, thanks so much. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. I appreciate Ronnie for the super chat, and Jimbo, you guys, you rock. I appreciate that. So the point behind that, guys, $10, Mr. Marko. So let's do it again. He did it again 3 times. Ronnie Odette, amazing. Ronnie Odette did it again, Mr. Marko. So I appreciate that, Ronnie. Very kind of you to do that at the Ronnie. So we appreciate everybody to helping the contribution. The saver, the Ivan Demidov, about that. So when you say saver, I know people say, come on, coach, you never play one game in the NHL, everything like that. Demidov is getting better and better and better and better. He is right now only 2 points behind Kaprizov to become the youngest player playing the KHL to have the most points and run regular season. Yes, Kaprizov did in 49 games. Demidov play tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. or is 49 game. Mishkov did it 41 points and 48. Demidov finished short by 1 point. It's still 19 more game in the season, so Demidov is going to be at the top after that. But on the
if you look at the average time on ice, though, for those players, they were playing way more minutes than Demidov.
Exactly. So, example, Demidov right now is at 12:26, and Mishkov play at 16:41 per game. So 4 minutes per game, 48 time. I'll give you more time about that one there. But Ilya did it for $20, ladies and gentlemen. He's joined the party tonight, guys. Let's do it again. Thank you, Mark, again. Super chat for Marko from Mark Ilya. Thanks so much, everybody. We are guys, you rock and roll tonight. Ronnie, thanks so much to push you the envelope on this super Wednesday night other notebook. So, even the receiver, I'm going to show to you video about his 3 goals plus his move. Marko, give us what your expectations, what you see so far, and what you expect for him next season, and go from there. And the people in the chat can talk about this tonight. Here we go.
Well, it's hard not to get aroused watching some of these highlights, Coach. And again, it's not just in the Montreal market. Like you watch podcasts all across the league. You have all kinds of people across the NHL noticing these highlights. It's on everybody's X feeds. Like these are spectacular highlights that we're seeing, right? So, really huge game by Demidov. What I really liked about both these goal coaches is that the give and go plays, right? Like wins a battle on the boards here, and like here you go, like he finds like a nice player on the boards, and whoop, slips to the middle, gets rid of his guy, gets to open space, and makes no mistake, fires it right away into the open side there. So really good kind of give and go. And that's what you want to see, right? Like, you don't want to just see a guy that can create plays by himself. You want to see somebody that can create with his teammates, can read teammates. So that's what was really impressive about that one play. And then this one here, this is, I think, a breakaway that he didn't score on, but still, again, like, for whoever thinks his skating isn't very good, like, still good separation speed there. And like, then still, like, really creative with the puck. Still makes me nervous, coach, with his skating style with his knees like that, but it works. Let's hope it works in the NHL. And then boom, another great kind of read here, getting into open space and makes no mistake into an open side for a second goal of the game. Even Rottenberg, the quite controversial fellow in SKA, a little fist bump for his compatriot in Russia, and Demidov takes a little skate for the crowd. Two goals on the night. Everybody's happy. Everybody gets an extra potato and some goulash in Russia. Here we go. So we see this again. Nice open side here. Good to go.
Great
and then,
pass,
Coach,
by the way.
Yeah, really, really nice pass for sure. And, he probably even had somebody open on his other side here as well, too, but makes the right selection.
Super
Wani
chat.
again.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. We'll go to it after that. Let's go.
Yeah,
Finish
we'll
it
do
with
it
the
after.
roundup.
Yeah, we'll do it after the highlights here. So then, goalie pulled here. Good poise, but good
Would be the
separation.
empty net.
Good patience here, though. Like, waited, didn't skate too fast. Slowed his skating and gave himself enough time and space to kind of hit the empty net. Third goal, hats on the ice. Everybody is excited. Even Rottenberg gets excited here and tries to. Did he try to Velcro or like Scotch tape?
Yeah,
the hat
so
to
every
his
time
helmet?
I had trick, Rottenberg does this. I saw him at the beginning of the year. I think it was Plonikov or someone else or Krizyov, and he does this for the player. I don't know what Rottenberg. Can you imagine Scotty Bowman put this on the head of
Yeah,
Lafleur?
yeah, that would be. I could not see Mike Babcock doing that to us in the NHL for sure, but it was fun. Like, it's a fun thing. So, but yeah, so good empty net, like, great results. I think this puts him 17th overall in the KHL or something like that in scoring, coach, as
19
a
goal
rookie.
now.
So, yeah, so really, really strong. And there you go. So Rottenberg, I don't know if he was going to staple the hat to his helmet there. So finally he gets it on, and this is going to be a meme forever. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of memes on this CSKA hockey. So very cool. So, coach, this is really exciting times, right? Like, I don't think Montreal's had a prospect like this that generates not just buzz across the Montreal market, but you're seeing buzz all across the NHL. All kinds of insiders, all kinds of scouts and watchers across the NHL. Everybody is buzzing about Demidov. There's no question that he is the best prospect or player playing outside of North America right now. I think it's safe to say that. My God, his knees make me nervous when he makes that move, though. Holy jeez. So, Coach, so your other question here is, what's he gonna like? What's gonna happen like when he comes to Montreal, right? Like, what can we expect? Like, I don't know if we can look at his knee there, Coach. Like, my God, it makes me nervous. But what can we expect? Like, I don't know if we're gonna could we see some plays like this in the NHL? Like, some of it is transferable, right? Like, that's what you look for, right? Like, what skills are transferable to the NHL level? And like I was just pointing out in the first couple goals, what is really nice to see here are the plays where he's doing give and goes with his teammates, because it's not all the time that you're going to be able to break into the middle of the ice and deke out two guys at the NHL level. But if you're able to, give and go with your teammates and have good vision and find good spots along the ice, that's where you're going to have success. To me, the only thing that I see that he really needs to work on to have some success at the NHL, and I've already seen an improvement so far this year, is those one-on-one puck battles along the wall, right? So he's just going to need to get a little bit stronger. I think he just needs to put a little bit more commitment to being always on the right side of the puck. I know this seems boring, right? But if you're going to be playing top 6 minutes in the NHL, and I think we all can see Montreal, Demidov is not going to play in Laval. He's not going to start on the fourth line. He's going to probably, if unless something goes terribly wrong, he's going to probably start in Montreal's top 6. Now, what does that mean for Montreal next year? Well, coach, we saw the impact that Patrick Laine had when he came into the lineup, right? What it does is it slots everybody down, right? So one piece goes in, and then that means that piece goes down. That means the piece before that also goes down. So I think we all realize that this is going to impact Alex Newhook. Probably is going to line up, you'd imagine, with Kirby Doc, if that's the way that they decide to go, unless they decide to go get another center for the second line, which I also wouldn't be against, like I've been openly talking about. But to me, coach, I think there's no question that he's going to have an impact in Montreal's lineup in a top 6 role next year. How much of an impact is he going to have? Like, an 80, is he going to be a point per game player in his rookie season? I don't think so. I think he's, if he can have a similar kind of like rookie season to what Slafkovsky had, like maybe like 50 points in the NHL, 50, 60 points, I think that would be tremendous. It's going to be very different for him, right? Like living in a different country, you wonder if they're going to bring in somebody to kind of like maybe another Russian player in Montreal next year to kind of help him adapt a little bit. Or if it's not another player, like could they bring somebody in the coaching staff or on the team to kind of help him adapt? But with a player this important, coach, Montreal has shown they're going to spare no expense at properly surrounding that player and properly kind of giving him the guidance that he needs. So very exciting. Like I said, the most exciting thing is not just the electrical things that he's doing one-on-one, but that he's being able to make things happen with teammates, and those give and go plays is what I really like.
Before I answer back to for Demidov, I want to do one more time for the super chat, but we don't have only one super chat at $5. We have also a super sticker for Ronnie, a double super sticker. We have $10 for Ronnie again. We have 7 super chats. Let's celebrate one more time, Marko. Super chat reverse. Thanks so much, Mr. Ronnie, about that one with that. We need to find like a super cheese at some point. We need to figure out something about that, Marko.
That's a whole different thing.
I'm working on that. I want to have a super cheese at the Thailand to tell us a super chat or something like that. So I'm working on that one over there. And by the way, I lost Reggie for the last 2 days. I put him out with me one night. He's still on recovery day number 2. Hopefully we'll be ready tonight about that. But tonight I cannot go out. I go watching Demidov again tonight. So I appreciate that. For me, Demidov, guys, is this. I watch everything about Demidov since the beginning. Maybe his biggest fans in Montreal with Dezo from PMP. But Demidov, guys, is going to be an excellent player in NHL. He continues to performing. And I think Rottenberg realized if he wants to keep his job, he needs to let play Demidov because right now we have pizza for another super chat. We're going to finish with my point behind that. And then I'm going to go with pizza. But I think overall, Demidov is going to be an excellent player for Montreal. I think the fans are excited a couple of years ago to see Cole Caulfield. They got excited to see now Lane Hudson. And this is the cherry on the cake to get Demidov. Think about this. How many times the next couple of months ago, and every time we remember that, we always put together Reinbacher versus Michkov, right? Where it was maybe a bad trade, not a bad draft pick. We're going to know this in a couple of years. But if you are Chicago fans and you see Lich Chicago and the American League with only 2 goals and he struggled, and now you see Demidov, what he's doing. This is the same feeling they have the fans in Chicago, Marko, like we have in Montreal at some point. It's not always green, it's not always better somewhere else, right? So Chicago is going to figure out the next couple of years. Maybe they make a big mistake, do not select Demidov over Lechinov.
Maybe it was a tough call. Like Levshinovsky, I think he's going to be a good player. But Michael Devellano, coach, you had it right on our mock draft. He picked Demidov number 2 for Chicago. He was bragging. I think he clipped our draft show and shared it all over Twitter that he would have chosen differently, right? So maybe Michael is going to get a promotion and end up working for the Blackhawks so that they can make better decisions in the top 5.
Yeah, as well about that, we have another super sticker from Ronnie, and we have super sticker for Pizza. So let's celebrate one more time, Mr. Marco. That gave you maybe some losing calorie with us tonight.
Yes.
Thank you, Rivers. I appreciate that, everybody, about this all there. Another one, Mr. Marco is still concerned with Daryl. Add more in the chat, guys. Amazing for tonight. 10 super chat. Thank you, everybody. Wow, amazing, guys, to see that. Marco, we have a really great people here in the chat. Generous to give their donation to the Hockey Nation show. There's no way to survive here, by the way. So
I'm going to run out of moves here at some point, though. I'm going to need to start breakdancing or something. I don't know.
You're right about that. So let's move on. I'm going to move to the clash because after that I have a couple of subjects. And we're going to talk about this. Ask people, please don't forget to click on the like. So let's move on to the clash. Absolutely, I'm not allowed. You guys in the chat can give us your answer. We're going to start right away. Kaiden Guhle, is it the biggest lose as a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens? So if you have the core of the 6 defensemen, Jekai, Savard, Madison, Hudson, and Guhle, is it Guhle the biggest loss for the Montreal Canadiens as a defenseman or not?
I think people are probably going to disagree with me here, but I think Guhle is easier to replace than someone like Hudson. Like, you can say that Struble isn't capable of having the same impact as Guhle, but Guhle plays a more similar style. Sorry, Struble plays a more similar style to Guhle than anybody that Montreal has that could maybe do what Hudson does, right? In my opinion. So I'm not saying not having Guhle is a huge loss, but I think it's more realistic or more possible for Montreal to replace him or to move on without him than losing Hudson. Hudson, nobody in the system can do what Hudson does. That's my opinion.
A couple of people say yes. Some people, people said Guhle or Hudson, but honestly, Luke said yes. A2 said no. He said it's Abitson. Hudson is not a great combination about that one there. So that's happening about this one there. It's a good question. It's hard one, right? Because you have Leonard Sink and what he contributes on the offensive side, but how many people we have in the Montreal shut down player opponent team like Guhle?
I get it. So like I said, the style that Guhle plays, Struble can kind of replicate that style. Stay at home, like Struble can kind of play that. Whether he's as successful as Guhle, that's a whole other question. He's going to probably make more mistakes than Guhle does, right? He may not have as good a reads as Guhle does, but he's a similar style of defenseman, I think, than Guhle, right? Can skate. He's a defend first kind of guy. And I think he's just as physical, if not has the capability to be more physical than Guhle, right? So I think, again, I'm not saying that it's easy to replace him. I'm saying the style of defenseman that Guhle is easier to replace.
I would go on that one. Absolutely, for me, for Guhle, I think is the one. More, I go with PLW on that one. So I go with Guhle on that one. Rick Ken is in the house. Welcome back. Long time to see Rick Ken, but I love Rick. His logo, Marco, the Lesson Kings logo. This is when I see that, I see Marcel Dion, Rogatien Vachon, Charlie Simmer, and Del Taylor are the Lesson Kings. Guys, this is a lot of great memories for the King. Have a great history and NHL. So I agree with you. Look at what's on that one. Second question for everybody. Patrick Laine resigned at 6 7 million with the Montreal Canadiens. The question, honestly, is about if they get that contract, do you resign him? Absolutely or not at all?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm ready to answer this, Coach.
I
Yet, right?
understand.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of him because we've seen the good and we've seen kind of the bad, right? Like the most pleasant thing about Line for me so far, other than last two games, maybe, like obviously the power play goals were awesome, but I was really impressed about how committed he was to playing on the right side of the puck. Like we know that he wasn't at full speed, but you could see he was really committed to fitting into the system. I've been seeing that tail off a little bit over the last game or two. So I'm going to assume if we see the same Patrick Laine, even if he was scoring not as much on the power play, if he's committed to playing within the system that St. Louis has, and he's going to continue to have the same, contribute to the culture in the same way. Like if it's the same guy that we've seen, I would not have a problem re-signing him for 6 7 million. I wouldn't, just because of the fact that I think Montreal's not going to have somebody like that in their top six. Like Hage is still going to be a little while away, so I wouldn't hesitate. He's probably going to be looking for at least 6 years, right? So that part, the term would make me a bit nervous. I would rather go higher dollar amount and lower on term. To me, Line is a low term guy, so if to me the deal with Line is more like you go 7 million, 7.5 million, but you go 2 years instead of like 5, 6, 7 years at 6 million. So to me, it's more term. I would want to keep the term down on him if possible.
Yeah. Remember, it's like for me, it's like a reliever pitcher, right? He closed the game at the end, and sometimes one power play goal make its friend right there. So
Yeah.
my biggest concern for Lenny is his behavior. I don't like his body language on the bench. I feel like he's negative a lot. Uh, it may be too hard on himself, but sometimes he
Yeah.
shows some expression. I need more. We need more on a 5 versus 5. So we have to wait. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's the best answer right now. But
Yeah.
the where I really agree with you is okay, $6 million, $7 million, but not a long term contract. That would be the biggest problem for the Montreal Canadiens. So a short term, I think I would sign him. But again, we have to see a lot of other people comments in the chat. So thanks everybody. People the show. Rick, welcome back. Everybody, don't forget please to click on the likes. Nicolas, welcome back in the house. And I'm a little bit worried about that, like you said, look at his behavior. Anyway, the next one, that Montreal Canadiens should play Mayu over Jayden Struble. I know we talked about this earlier. It wasn't the clash anyway. But if I choose tomorrow night and Sunday, Monday next week on the trip, do you use Logan Mayu over Jayden Struble if both are part of the roster, Marko? So we know he's not there
Yeah.
yet, Mayu, but if
Yeah.
you think that way.
Yeah. So I'm torn on this too, right? Because the fan in me says yes. Like I think it would be exciting to see him come up. Like we're all excited to see our young prospects come up and finally establish themselves. So part of me wants to see that, but the more kind of like analytical part of my brain that's watched him play and the more kind of like cautious part of me doesn't think he's ready yet based on what we talked about before. Again, guys, I don't want to get all geeky and like whatever, but the players that are going to succeed well in Martin Saint Louis system are players that can do reads because of the way that the system is set up, and that is Mayu's biggest problem right now is making the right reads. I just don't think he's ready. So part of me wants to see it, but at this point, I'm going to say not at all.
Um, I always said to you, me, yes, and you know why? Because absolutely, because I want Mayu learning as to get better. I think Mayu is a long-term project with the Montreal versus Trouble, in my opinion. And now we need more a right defenseman for the next 4 game. We can reevaluate after that with the injury, the Guhle, everything like that. But you have to me tonight. I would prefer to use Mayu. Mayu have a really good last 3 weeks when Laval was
But
hit.
no, coach. But we talked about that. He had a very good offensive output. He's not playing well
But
defensively still.
he's not a minus at the end of the year. At the end of
Doesn't-
the last 3 weeks, Marco, is
doesn't-
+3 on that one.
But that's plus minus does only tells part of the story, coach. If you watch the games, you watch them, right? Like he's still not playing correctly. He's not in the right positions. Don't get fooled by the offensive production. It's not.
No, it's not about the
It's not.
offense. For me, for is a progression since the beginning of the season. I think for me, they need a right defenseman for a couple of games on the road. Why not to use Mayu over to let another left defenseman on the wrong side? Exactly. Why do you expose Lane Hudson on the left side? Why to move Jekai on the wrong side? It's not the way to progress the relationship. We still were a rebuilding team. That's what we are. We are a
Well,
rebuilding team. We
I
are
don't know.
not the
I don't
team
know.
right
I
there.
don't know. I don't know,
That's what
coach.
we
Like,
are.
but no, but listen to what the management team is saying, coach. Like, yes, like they're still evaluating, right? Like they're not going to sacrifice the future, but they prioritize winning and being in the mix just as high, like almost on equal standing uh with with just players developing, right? Equal part of developing the young players is winning. So if like right now with where they are in the standings, they're not just going to bring in a guy just to give him experience. Not if it's going to mean that it's going to impact the team's ability to win. I don't think that's just saying, like you were saying before, there's almost like a conflict between St. Louis and the management about management wants to evaluate, St. Louis wants to win. I don't think there's that big of a gap. I think they're both, I think they're very in sync when it comes to that. I'm not saying that they're not going to sacrifice the future. They've been very clear on that, but I think that they do prioritize trying to keep the winning ways in place. And if that means like they're not just going to bring in Mayu just because, yeah, we think it's worth a shot. Like, look, the reason that they brought up Beck, it didn't make sense to bring up Beck because he's a center. They brought him up because he earned it. He was the most consistent player all year and everything else. So that's if you hear why St. Louis and you hear the reason why they called him up, it's because he earned it. It wasn't because positionally it was the player that made the most sense. So if you apply that to Mayu, then you're not bringing him up just because it makes the most sense to bring him up because he's a right-handed shot. That's not why they're calling guys up. They're calling them up based on merit. And I don't think Mayu like he lost his position on the power play. Like Hoffmeyer or whatever has been playing the first unit power play. His minutes are down overall in Laval because his reads are not there yet.
I mean, the reason he's down because he don't use him properly. They want to be him to improve more his defensive side of the game. So we'll see the
Exactly.
next
So
one. Ottawa finished third at Classic Division. Absolutely not at all.
absolutely, coach. Like I've been mentioning this in the chat. I've been watching a few more of their games. Like I so much scoreboard watching. I've been watching a lot of Detroit, a lot of Rangers, a lot of Senators, a lot of all the teams that are in the mix here with Montreal. I'm even recording their games and watching their games after to kind of see what's going on. So if you watch Ottawa on the surface, like you might say, oh, like you were mentioning before, like wow, their goaltending is really carrying them right now. But the most impressive thing about Ottawa, you know, they have a really good record, obviously, in the last 10 games, but it's how well defensively that they're playing, coach. They're playing so well defensively. They've been winning games without Allmark. Brady Tkachuk had 0 points in his last 8 games, and they were still winning. So they're winning despite a lot of things not going super well for them. Stützle only had, I think, 2 points. He hadn't scored a lot. Giroux hadn't scored, and like they had a breakout game where Giroux, I think Pinto and Tkachuk all scored. That was the first time that they scored in a long time, and they're still winning. So I think Travis Green has done a really good job. I wasn't a super huge fan of the hire for Ottawa, but I have to admit Travis Green has done a really good job with that team. The way they're playing defensively, if Allmark comes back, I think they still need a little bit of an upgrade on the right side of their defense as well, Coach. But I think the Sens are for real. I think they might finish ahead of Tampa. Tampa's really struggling.
Oh
The
my God,
depth of
they're
their
really,
the, the
really.
the depth. Well, you look at their lineup, Coach. Like after that first line, it's you got Nick Paul. That's holding something down there. But other than that, man, like it's really, really, really thin. Julien Brisebois, there's only so many rabbits that you can pull out of the hat there, like in terms of trying to build out a bottom six. So it's going to be tough. I think Ottawa's going to eke out ahead of those guys.
Yeah, sorry about that. I will go absolutely with the Ottawa Senator on that one. Welcome, Jeremy. I appreciate a lot that comment. And last one for you tonight. Slafkovsky reached 50 points.
Yeah. What's he on pace for, Coach, right now? Do you know?
He has, I believe, 32 points and 49 games or 50 games. So
he's on pace, yeah, for a little bit more.
Yep.
I think he'll get there. Like I think, I don't think he's going to hit 20 goals. I think he'll be close. Like
yeah, I agree. 15 will be what I'm looking for him.
Yeah,
29 points. I apologize. 29 points.
29 points. So I think he can still get to 50. So maybe he's like 15 to 18 goals or something like that. So listen, like not a regression year over year in terms of points. Hopefully it's one of those things where he's learned more about different things about his play and everything else. And so you just look for him to continue. Again, like things are not linear when it comes to players' progressions. And I know this is technically his third year, Coach, but in my mind, I consider this his sophomore year of Slafkovsky, because his first year, he was injured so early, didn't play a lot. Yes, technically he got some experience in the league, but last year, in my mind, anyways, I know it's not rational, but I consider his first year last year his rookie year. And you know how they say the sophomore slump, right? Like it's always tougher the second year, even though it's not technically a second year. In my mind, I consider kind of like his sophomore year. So I would be happy. So I think, yeah, absolutely. I love how, by the way, you called it absolutely or not at all. That's a nice little change. So I'm going to say absolutely 50 points for Slafkovsky.
Someone suggests this in the chat. I use this on my answer, my long time, my comments on my. But someone suggests this in the chat, so I put this on that one.
That's
Look,
good.
he's a 0.58 point per game. Slafkovsky, so he will be really close between 47, 52. It depends how many points, but he's getting there. But you nailed it when you said he's not going to reach 20 goals. I expect more. The guy may be like 13, 14 goals and possible 30, 32 assists, something like that. So we'll see interesting what he's going to do for the rest. So I said also absolutely, but it would take everything for him to get there. So we'll see if Slafkovsky good clash between both of us for tonight. A lot of great, I think, a couple of good things there. I want to show to you. I'm not there yet. I always skip that one. It was compared with Animan and Pesada. It got that. So, I want to show to you, guys. We have 7 minutes. We have two subjects. I want to show to you the third guy of the third goal, the Jet against Montreal again. I want to tell us what happening. Who is the fault? Who do you put him guilty about that one over there? So let's see, Marko, the third goal of the Winnipeg Jets. Puck returned by Coley, lose the ball with Gustafsson, the puck bouncing, and then Connor scored a goal on that one. I know it's a clip really quick about that, but you'll see already the goal. Honestly, many of you see the goal. So let's give us a little bit more what you see on that play, honestly. One problem, two problem, five problem, and put this all together the context of that one. We talk about Martin Saint-Louis decision to put Pesada there, the pairing Hudson, Guhle together. We have 30 seconds to go. Why to send Deborah Gallagher and Pesada at the end of this shift about that one over there. and they score 0.5. So I know you're going to give us a good answer right there.
Yeah. So, some people might, look at Matheson losing the puck battle, but that happens, right? So, you'd like Guhle to be able. Sorry, I said Matheson, but I meant Guhle. So, you'd like maybe Guhle to win, at least eat the puck there with so little time. It'd be nice for him to be able to eat the puck along the boards, but that happens time to time. But like I was mentioning earlier, there was a lot of puck watching in this game, Coach, and players that are puck focused. So that's what happened on this as well too, right? You have. And it happened a lot of times. Like I said, like Connor does not need a lot of time to strike. Like even the first goal, it was a loose puck for less than like 0.4 seconds, and boom, it's in the back of your net, right? So you have to keep your head on the swivel. That's why I was saying I would have Carrier in the office earlier. Carrier, Dvorak, and Pizzetta. All of them in that case, like they were watching the puck there, and they were not paying attention to what was behind them. And you just can't afford to do that especially against that first line for the Winnipeg Jets. They're just absolutely lethal right now. They're really good. Like you were mentioning before, how Winnipeg their cycle game is like elite in the NHL right now. Like they're just so good at keeping pucks down low all game. Like say what you want about Morrissey, but he's very like they go down to load up a lot to open up space, and then Morrissey will kind of open things up, put it back down, and then they go and try to. So for those of you who don't know, the reason that a player will carry the puck up to the top of the offensive zone is they want to open up space in the middle in like the bumper position for somebody to go, right? Because a lot of teams, they collapse to the front of the net. So if the puck carrier goes up to the top of the zone, it's going to force the wingers to follow them up, and that's going to create space in the middle. Then you put it back down low, and then boom, you have an opening in the slot. So you just have to be very aware. So for me, Coach, who's responsible is really everybody that wasn't Kaiden Guhle, who lost the battle and was puck watching. That would be my answer.
Yeah, a good point about that. I think it's a part of everybody, right? The Winnipeg Jet, they knew the clock and they almost gave up. And Connor see, I got a puck, I have to shoot. Honestly, he did not expect the puck there. They just watching Gustafsson. So for me, for Montreal, is the 5 players together. They are responsible about that one there. First of all, miscommunication between Hudson and Guhle. Guhle watch Hudson. Watson look at him. Now Guhle decide to go there. He go there. He lose the battle behind the net. Hudson, no doubt, he should never be in the corner. He's going to learn about that mistake. So it's a learning from Hudson. It should be right there on the post, on the close post of Montembeault to intercept the puck. Is something happening about that. Now, I can understand if it was 16 minutes remaining, you can take that opportunity right there. Christian Dvorak at that play, he played too low. He's the F1, so he's the first back-checking guy. No one, he never checked the shoulder check beside him. Who is coming? They just drive to Montembeault, and he stopped Marko and the blueprint of Montembeault. So Montembeault, Dvorak should recognize, wait a minute, Hudson is right there. I take a picture. I see Guhle there. Now, we need to be sure I cover the top of the corner of Montembeault on the crease. If the puck coming back, I can intercept the puck. Dvorak make a big mistake go there. Gallagher and Pesada, they just follow the Winnipeg Jets, say, hey, it's the end of the period and we're not big deal. And they're only looking at the puck. So 5 players looking for the puck. You got enough size there, outside the wrong place. Guhle lost the race over there. Dvorak is out of the position. And Montembeault also should be more ready on that puck over there. I can understand it's corner. I understand he scored 29 goals, but still. So for me, not a specific players, but this is where Guhle need to be better, need to Hudson to learn better, and Dvorak slip on the switch on that one. So it's a concept of the team, honestly, but I will show to you on that goal. It was a hammer goal, Marko. Montreal tried to come back at the third period, but it was a hammer goal there.
Yeah, but like I said, like pretty much all goals were pretty similar, Coach. Like they were down low plays, and they're caught puck watching, right? Like I think the first goal was a little bit more of a broken play, though. Like the play was it was just like a broken play, and the puck was just there, and Connor just was able to get it, and she shot it right away. But at least two of the goals were down low plays where the most of the guys were puck watching, and they were able to kind of score pretty quickly, right? So yeah, like just a little bit more awareness, and these are things that you weren't seeing from Montreal before. Like they were so in sync before, like we talked about. Like the biggest thing with St. Louis system is reading when to pressure and when not to pressure, and they just seemed like it was much better last game, but they're just again a little bit off where they were in December when they were executing the system like really, really well.
Exactly. Last thing before you go, the Montreal preview game between Minnesota and Montreal Canadiens. What your expectation? What you see? Tobèche versus Fleury, and we
Yeah.
did not talk about Martin Fleury, guys. This is his last game at home. A big subject on the PMP today. We should give the first star of Marc-André Fleury tomorrow night. I disagree with that, but it's on a subject for another time. We have no time. So, what your prediction of the game, or your perception of what you're going to really see Montreal tomorrow night? I think the win will be really hard. I know it's a back-to-back, but this is an opportunity. Marko, to Montreal cannot lose that game, in my opinion, compared to
Yeah.
one Winnipeg Jet, in my opinion.
Yeah, like if Montreal wants to stay in the mix, like this is a really important one. Like you just can't afford to start losing 3 games in a row. You have to kind of stay in the mix here, right? So really, really big game for Montreal, but not going to be easy. Like on the topic of Marc-Andre Fleury, I think every time he comes to Montreal, we think it's his last game, and he always does a tour, and so. But I think this time, like he actually asked his coach to play. So I think this might be the one. So it would be great to see him there. Are you surprised to see Tobèche get the start? I don't know. Interesting. Like I was a little bit surprised. Like I thought they might kind of let Monty play, but good for him. Like good for him to rebound after his first loss, I guess. Like even though he played well, this can be a tough one. Like don't underestimate this team, Coach. Even without Kaprizov, like again, they just beat Toronto. Toronto's a really good team. They've been playing really well. Good goaltending. So it's going to be a tough team. They play very sound defensively. If you think Winnipeg plays a really heavy game down low, well, rinse and repeat. Same thing with
Erickson,
the
AK,
Minnesota.
Foligno, really good role, put some pressure there. The goaltender
Yeah.
excellent this season. I think the thing for me, Montreal struggling usually is a team really structured. One of the team is really structured. Montreal struggling with that, and of course with the body, hard body or big body, Montreal struggling also. That's the reason Lane Hudson, you can see yesterday again with Paget have difficult time to hanging with Barron behind the net, right? And we'll see. Also, we want to welcome Jason. A lot of people in that chat. We'll see Montreal tomorrow, guys. I think it will be a low score with like a 1 goal differential. I would not be surprised if it is 3-2 or 3-1 or something like that. I don't expect like 5-6 goals from one specific team. I think they would be that way. I think Montreal would be a little bit more caution, Marco. They would be really careful and not give any, what is a surnom in English, like
odd man rush.
Yeah, so I think they will be really good. So Montreal will be really defensively. With Tobèche, they collapse together. Now, it will be the first game without Guhle. It will be interesting what's happening about that. Can we use Pesada or RPH? We'll see what the decision Martin St. Louis. But I promise one thing, Martin St. Louis is not going to send Pesada at the end of the period at some point tomorrow night. I don't see what's happening there. So, Marco, this is another great show tonight on the Notebook. It was great to work with you, only you and me together. It did not happen a lot. Usually we have a great guest like co-host like Frank join us usually, and other people, sometimes other. But it was fun to see you. We go through many questions, many things tonight, Marco. It was the floating of the show was really good. A lot of people in the chat, we appreciate that. We missed a couple to join with 50 likes. But most of the thing, Marco, we have 710 different super chat, super sticker. Roddy Odette, the first star of the game tonight. Jimbo, thanks so much. Also, we have Mark Elliott, considered to be great contributor to our Hockey Nation show. and we have Pizza Knock the Door. And Darrell, thanks so much for the show. So we have a lot of people give that one, guys, for another great notebook show. We'll be back next, maybe not next week. Montreal play late. So we have to figure out.
Yeah, just a note, we're working on maybe getting a special guest next Friday. So next Wednesday, Montreal plays. So no notebook. That we'll probably do it on Friday, Coach.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We might have a special guest on Friday.
I appreciate that, Marko. You do this for the Hockey Nation show. So I will let you go. You know your dog is leaving. So Marko, thanks so much for your work tonight, and I will stay in touch with you. And keep up with your work, Marko. And I can wait to see you next week. If we get that, that'll be a great show to hear that person with us, Marko.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks so much, Marko. It was Marko Larabi, guys, for Hawkesbury to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. Hopefully you enjoyed that book show. This is a show we produce every Wednesday night, talking about the Montreal Canadiens. This Sunday, we do the weekly recap with In Our Tap. So we want to thank everybody to be a part of the show tonight. We want to thank everyone, the Super Chat, Super Sticker, Ozzy Calabro, the news update, and of course, Moderator Luciano, Ron, and In Our Tap. But the reason we grow, the reason we perform every night is because all of you are this way. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Here we go. We have greatness inside of you. We want to thank also. Don't forget, please, to be back tonight, 7 o'clock for the Montreal again, play-by-play. And of course, watching Ivan Demidov tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. Demidov will be in action. Again, the Think Sport Talk. I'm going to give you all the update. Follow me on my X account or the Twitter account at ColdFrenchie10X. I talk about all the prospects for Montreal again every day. I wrote an article today about Vincent Rover. Is out on my X account. So watch, read about Vincent Rover. Until next time, my friend, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Someone said 2025. Of course, we wish you an amazing, great night. Sleep well. And the Hockey Nation show, the Ab Nation, want to tell you one more thing. We love you, friends. Don't forget, Friday night, we do the game between the Laval Rocket and the Abford Wolfpack. Have a great night, everybody. See you next time. And booyah!